Ultra-popular YouTuber Jimmy Donaldson, better known as Mr. Beast, has been facing backlash since his sidekick, Chris Tyson, started hormone replacement therapy, and his body language revealed clues that expose the true emotions he's trying to conceal. With almost 150 million subscribers on YouTube and a massive influence on children all over the world, this topic has generated global concern. And if you have trouble reading facial emotions, or you have a hard time understanding when people's body language betray their words, then this video is for you, because you're about to learn one thing people do with their eyes that instantly expose their emotion, how someone's body language reveals being uncomfortable or disgusted, and what to do if you discover that someone is faking happiness. By the end of this video, you will be able not only to understand but also apply these tips in your daily life. Welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and I first stumbled upon this topic thanks to the video that you are about to watch. All that we can see is one interaction of Jimmy and Chris in what doesn't look like one of Mr. Beast's regular videos. It looked more like they were in production mode or opening some packages. But the video was edited to make it seem like the various reactions from Jimmy are the product of that interaction, or somehow from interactions with Chris. Whenever you're going to judge someone's body language, this is the golden rule. Always go for the original clip or video. Go for the source. Because nowadays, thanks to editing and more recently artificial intelligence, anything is possible. So that was my first concern, finding the original video, and I found it on Jimmy's second channel. The video in itself was a live stream where they were opening a lot of fan art about the whole team. And that's another important point. This edited clip made it seem like there was just the two of them, and it was not the case. So golden rule number one, always go for the source. Once I got to the original video, which is 1 hour long, the first thing I noticed is that every member of Jimmy's team was interacting with each other. This is important because body language is the manifestation of emotional reactions, and emotional reactions spark from our interactions with other people. The fact that Jimmy and Chris were not alone means that it makes the body language analysis more complex. At the same time, it reinforces the fact that the original uploader tried to make an editing in bad faith. But then I noticed that in the comments of the original video were a substantial amount of comments about Jimmy not being that happy or being sad or being uncomfortable. In these comments, it was implied that this was due to the interaction with Chris, because what all of them were doing, just opening packages and showing the pieces and artworks, was not stressful at all. Now, upon watching the whole video, I could pinpoint several moments in which Jimmy was visibly uncomfortable. Let's take a look at his body language in these clips. One clip that was referenced over and over again in the comments was this one. I'm gonna play it so you can see what sparks the reaction in Jimmy, and then we are going to take a closer look at his face.
Oh, yeah, you have to, so you can go, whoa, 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 my
Here,
God.
buddy. Enjoy that.
It's like Herobrine when he pops up, look.
Wait, do it again.
You're like, yeah.
It's a T-Rex drag.
As you can see in this video, we saw another member of the team, Carl Jacobs, who was playing with some random effects. And the reaction to those effects makes them laugh in a very silly way. Nothing out of the ordinary here. But what happens with Jimmy's face? We see that in the span of those few seconds, he displays not only some genuine smiles, but he also displays smiles that look a little forced. Or maybe not forced, but they don't look as intense. Perhaps it is a reaction to that laughter. And this is important in body language. We need to focus on people's faces when they are reacting at stimuli like this, like that laughter. But in every body language analysis, we need to take into account what is the baseline of the person or their regular body language. Because we could meet a person who has an angry face all the time, but after talking to them for a few minutes, we realize that this is their natural expression. Maybe they are not angry, but some of their facial features convey that impression. In Jimmy's case, he's got naturally droopy eyelids, so by default, most of his smiles are not going to look that intense. We have also the additional issue of Jimmy's facial hair. It's a bit difficult, especially at this distance, to spot exactly where his lip corners are, so we need to guide ourselves by the shape of his mouth. That is not very precise because mouth shape when smiling is different from people to people. So this is a tip that I want to give you about how to spot when people are really smiling. Pay attention to their cheeks, that pressure of the cheeks on the eyes. That's what makes a real smile. There's another clip taken out of context, which is the next one.
What do these buttons do? No one ever explained any of this to me.
He's gonna start pressing him.
Basically, the people who referenced and cut this clip want to imply that Jimmy had some kind of emotional reaction when Chris came closer to him, like if Jimmy was repulsed or something. In my opinion, it's more like Jimmy was distracted looking at the monitor of the stream and didn't really notice Chris getting near him. And to prove that, there's actually nothing to see here. Here's the same clip with a few seconds added.
What do these buttons do? No one ever explained any of this to me.
He's gonna start pressing them.
Oh. Wait, we have buttons here.
As you can see, immediately after, Jimmy shows no problem in getting near Chris or even smiling, and you can see it's a genuine smile thanks to the cheek pressure I mentioned. Here's another clip that has been making the rounds. Let's see if you can spot why.
Hey, nice shirt. Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Hey, nice shirt.
Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Thanks. Nice shirt.
Nice shoes.
Oh, wow, he's different.
I knew where you were going.
What is supposedly happening here is that Jimmy is again uncomfortable for these interactions with Chris. But the thing is that many of these emotional displays, the way he smiles and the way he talks not only to Chris but the rest of the team, is something that he's doing through an 1-hour video. Remember the first clip that we saw that was barely 20 seconds long, so it's cherry picking 0.5% of the whole interaction to prove some kind of point. And this is regardless if you agree or not with Chris Tyson's decisions. We are looking at this from a human behavior and a statistical angle. You can't just go picking apart the moments that serve your opinion. That's not how this kind of analysis works. You need to be honest with your own perception. But of course, we can have opinions, and we should be free to share them as long as we are respectful. But our opinions should not be formed on instant reactions, which are usually based on emotions, but more like based on the facts. And I could disagree with the way they have handled this, and even if I have nothing to do with Jimmy's channel or Chris' life, the massive platform that is MrBeast, especially on children and teens, is something that cannot be overstated. But there are some things that should be mentioned. For example, that in 2020, Chris had already come out publicly to say that he was bisexual, and his close friends and family knew since he was 16 years old. I don't know if that caused any kind of controversy, but I'm sure it wasn't as viral as this. And regarding Chris' family, namely Katie Tyson and their son, he announced in March of this year that they had already divorced in summer of 2022, and he remains 100% involved with his son. Chris is an adult, and he literally has the right to do whatever he pleases. The problem, as usual, is the platform that he's a part of. As I share my opinion, I would like to read yours in the comments. Now, here's my conclusion. I watch MrBeast's videos every now and then because, let's face it, they can be quite amusing. But what fascinates me is the process of making them. And I can remember one video in particular when he reproduced quite faithfully Willy Wonka's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I think it was one interview where he said that it had been quite challenging and stressing enough because there were a lot of moving parts. Now watch just 10 seconds of that video and let's see what you can spot.
Let's see how many times we can get Charlie to say that. Don't forget, if you make this, that could determine whether or not you win a chocolate factory. And while they're throwing these, I need to tell you guys about honey.
As you can see, there are the exact same traces of emotions like the art unpacking video. My opinion is that he is suffering from burnout. I have seen it on my clients. They want to show enthusiasm, but they fall short, and ultimately they end up looking detached or even disgusted. Having watched the whole unpacking video, I can understand people's concerns about what could be Jimmy feeling about that, especially because up to this point, if there had been any controversy coming from his videos, it was nowhere as viral as how this has played out. But when we talk about the relationship between Jimmy Donaldson and Chris Tyson, we are talking about a friend who was the very first subscriber to Jimmy's channel. They have been friends for as long as they can remember. You can imagine that their journey together and the rest of the gang has been an awful lot of work. And challenges like that create bonds between people. And all of them have had skin in the game, and that's why they are still together. I don't think Chris's decision is going to affect his friendship with Jimmy or with any other member of the team. Having said that, I can understand the concern that this being perhaps the most influential channel for children and teens worldwide, a lot of the parents that were originally okay with MrBeast content could have second thoughts. So to recap, here's how you'll learn to properly read people's body language and that you can start applying as soon as you finish watching this video. Always make sure that you establish a baseline on the person's body language. How is their day-to-day expression, and take it into account when they're having a conversation or when they are reacting to an environment stimulus. If you have limited vision of a person's face, you can just focus on their cheeks. This way, you could spot a genuine smile even if the person is wearing a face scarf and sunglasses. Lastly, make sure that every time you see a video on the internet, don't jump to conclusions without having checked the original source. And once you find the original footage, make sure to be aware of all the circumstances of the event. My body language buddies, if you found this video useful, make sure you don't miss my upcoming analysis by subscribing and hitting that bell. And don't forget to download my 100 body language tips right in the description of this video. Much love and bliss.